Hello everyone, and welcome back to DMG. I am super excited for this video. This has been in the works for like 6 months. I'm gonna be building my first ATX custom build. That is completely out of frame. Here, let me move it back a bit. There we go. So yes, I'm gonna be building it on this desk, which I do have kind of limited room. If I just put the speaker on top of the monitor, that's going to give me some more space. But yes, I am building my first ATX PC. So really quickly, you can fast forward about 30 seconds if you don't want to hear this, but I want to give some background of the case. So basically, I ordered it in like September of 2022, right? It is now December, like early December 2022 when I am filming this. This is probably going to be the last video of 2022 because it's cool. But because it took so long to get here, I actually bought the white one, but they sent the blue one. But because it took so long to get here, I was just like, screw it, I'm building in the blue one. I was going to get the black one, but I decided on the white one because it was like $10 cheaper. It's really going to throw off the somewhat color coordination that I had, but hey, I'm just glad that I have the case and I can do a build. Now this isn't like a massive upgrade, it's more of a side grade of current components to a better case, because I really don't like the HP proprietary case. It gives super limited options for GPU upgrades. The board has proprietary power supply connectors, you know, that kind of thing. This case is, it's on the more budget side. This is the Fractal Design Focus G. It's definitely on the more budget side, but it had features that I really liked. Like, it's a pretty nice case still. It has 2 front bays, which I actually would have preferred like 3 or 4, but you know, even 1 or 2 is a lot for a modern case. It didn't have a glass side panel, although it did have a side panel, because I'm going to be moving this around a lot and I'd rather it not explode. Actually, maybe I should wait to peel this until the end. I'm going to wait to peel it until I'm done with the build. It has like protective layer on the inside and the outside. Now, it actually comes with 2 white LED fans installed in the front. I don't want those. Like, I'm sure that they move air just fine. I'm sure they're quiet enough. I'm sure the fans themselves are decent, but I don't want the light because I'm probably going to be running this overnight a lot. You know, downloading things, rendering, and I don't want, like, right on the front of the computer, light beaming into my room because this is a rather small room. So we've got little hard drive caddies here. I don't know which way is right side up and which way is upside down, because both of them were in differently. But I guess then it doesn't matter. You've got a little, well, a not so little box of a lot of screws and a lot of accessories, and they give you some twisty ties as well, which is fantastic. But I think first order of business is going to be changing out those fans. Now for this purpose, I have a brand new box of, oh crap, that has my address. Okay. Yeah, they just shipped it in the fan box. So I'm just going to remember not to open the box. There we go. So Antec F12. I really like these fans. They're white, which of course I bought them to match the white case, but whatever. They're, you know, nice and cheap in bulk, but they're still decently quiet and they're really reliable. So I really like these fans. So I'm going to be installing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and maybe 6. Because I have another one of these fans, I could just go pull it out of another system. So me swapping fans probably isn't the most interesting thing, so I will, you know, fast forward or cut through that. But I just want to figure out how to get the front off first. So is it just a pull at the bottom? It is. So the whole thing comes off because it doesn't have the like front panel like your USB and stuff and your buttons are all up here. They're not on the front panel, which makes getting it off a lot easier. Alright, I will stop rambling, and wow, those are long fan screws for the front. I think briefly while I'm doing the fans, I will explain why I'm doing this. So yeah, I'm just moving everything from my HP Z620 workstation. I was going to install Windows, like reinstall it anyway, about now, because it was getting a bit bloated. There was a lot of software that I didn't use anymore on the install, and it's a lot easier just to start fresh, honestly. And this board that I'm going to be using, I don't want to hint too much, but it's got a couple more features than the HP Z620 board that I wanted. So this fan is a Silent Series IL or LL 120 millimeter. I think the front can take 120, 140 fans, and yeah, from the look of the holes it can. It has a lot of blades on it compared to the Antec, probably like 2 or 3 more. But basically I'm just going to be building it, putting a different GPU than my GTX 980 in it just to test, because if something goes wrong I'd rather not lose the GPU that I paid $250 for. And then when everything is, you know, good and it seems to be working, I will pop in the big boy. And also, yeah, this is my first time in like a good case, and it looks like there's a bit of cable management room behind the motherboard tray, so I'm definitely going to be doing that. You know, trying to put cables behind there so it looks nicer. Now I'm going to have to individually untie all 5 fan twisty ties of the fans I bought. I think that'll look good through the front panel. There's our front fans, then I'll do the top, then the back. So for the top ones, I think I'll have to open the box of hardware that came with the fans. Looks like we've got an individual packet of screws for each fan, and then some Molex to 3-pin splitters. We got 2 of the Molex to 3-pin splitters, which is cool. I bought a fan hub, but if I need to add a 6th fan at some point, I probably will need to use one of those. And these being rather quiet fans, that would be fine for it just to run at a static RPM. Now I think I'm gonna put intakes up here instead of exhaust, and there's no like super specific reason for doing that, but I think I need more intake than exhaust in this build, because I'm cooling a 135 watt CPU and a superclocked GTX 980 that Genius EVGA put in the Founders Edition shroud. Why does this only have 3 fan holes on the top? Each fan only has 3 holes. Okay, whatever. Guess I'll use those 3 holes. Oh! So the screws that are already here, depending on your fan size, I think those are supposed to line up. Like the fans that are already in the dust filter are supposed to line up with your fan. Sorry, the screws that are already... Yeah, you're supposed to screw these into the fan as well. Okay. Honestly, it would have been really nice if they, you know, told you that, but... I think the next thing we're going to do is the power supply, which is an EVGA 500W, and I think I'm going to put it fan down, which, okay, yeah, so you can put it either fan up or fan down. Actually, with how dusty the dorm floors get, and because this might be on carpet, I think I'm going to put it fan up, not going to lie. Like, it seems like it would be best fan up just for dust purposes. And it would also kind of help, you know, suck a bit of heat away from the GPU. Already we have like 7 cables just from the front I/O and fans. And way more just from the power supply. Oh. I've never done this, putting cables behind the, like, motherboard thing. I think it's what you're supposed to do, but, I mean, again, I've never actually done it. I'll get the hardware that came with the case here. So, this probably has power supply screws in it. And wow, the power supply holes actually line up with the case. How incredible. The Rosewell case was not like that. It was like big. It was like a whole millimeter or so off. So it's good to build in a case that like actually had care put into it. Why does this one not want to go in straight? Okay, maybe the screw's like bent or something. I'll try this hole. There we go. Our power supply is in. Alright, I think it's time for the fun part now. I'll lay it flat again, like this. There we go. This just snaps out, I think. Yep, it does. Alright, so our top slot, this is something you're not going to see too often, but it is a dual hard drive caddy for 3.5 inch and 2.5 inch hard drives and SSDs. And if you look at the little, if you look down here when I press eject, this little lever comes out, so it'll push your drive out for you. It's basically so I can use whole hard drives as just huge, large capacity, massive flash drives. Because I store a lot of things on just, regular hard drives because they are quite fast for just, data storage. So this will eliminate me having to plug in a USB caddy. And over SATA, because this is literally just SATA, I'll probably get faster speeds as well. Was I supposed to put this in from the other way? Maybe. Yeah, the top fan blocks it, which just really sucks. I don't like that design. So I'm going to have to take out one of the top fans. I'm going to try and figure out how to get these front panel bays out. I think they just snap forward. And these actually have little dust filters on them, which is cute. So I might keep those around if I ever decide I don't need one of my 5.25 drives, or if it breaks and I'm too poor to replace it. The second one is probably more likely. So I'll see what I can do about that fan. Luckily with the 2 intakes in the front, we're still getting a good bit of airflow. Alright, there we go. Okay, so I guess like different drives have pieces that stick out at different points. And that one is just more sticky outy than the DVD drive, so that's why those holes exist, I guess. So you can really, get the lengths of your drive the same in the front. So I'll screw one in there and then one in here. For some reason this DVD drive has a label on the bottom. I think that's a bit weird because, almost every other drive you will see has the label on the not bottom, aka the top. Okay, just so it will boot for now, I'm going to be booting off of my old Windows SSD, this SK Hynix drive, the S31 Gold 1 terabyte. This drive is an absolute tank. I've written something like 7 terabytes to it. I think it's 7 terabytes written, 13 terabytes read, and it's still at 100% life. I believe I was supposed to install this before the power supply. I indeed was. So I'm going to be keeping this drive in the final build. So, it won't be my boot drive though. I bought an NVMe. But that's going to be a story for later because I bought the wrong size. so it's like too short, so I'll have to tape it down. I highly recommend this SSD. It is incredibly reliable, as I was saying earlier, and I think it has a warranty, but you're never going to need it. Best SSD I've ever owned. And the thing is fast as heck. Like, can do 500 megabytes per second read easily. Okay, our power supply is back in and our SSD is screwed in, which is great. I hope I didn't miss anything else. Now, I'm not going to put any hard drives in it yet, because again, I'm going to test it to make sure everything like basically works before I do anything else. Like put anything super valuable in it. Especially things with literally my data. I've backed them all up onto, let's see if I can find it, this massive Seagate drive. Massive as in weight, it's like a 4-platter drive. Just in case something does go wrong though. Here is our motherboard and CPU. I put that card over it just to protect the socket from dust and stuff. This is LGA 2011. The socket's so huge that it needs 2 retention clips. This is just an absolutely huge socket and an absolute beast of a CPU to go in it. I think this is the right way. I think that is the wrong way, actually. Okay, that feels right. So the CPU goes upside down. So I think you need to lock this one. Or is it? Yeah, you lock this one and then this one. And then I'm going to put on our cooler, which is also made by Antec. It's the A50 if I remember correctly. Mounting coolers on this socket is super easy because all of the motherboards have an integrated backplate. Now this cooler comes with 2 brackets. One labeled like everything else, and then one for LGA 2011 and like one other socket because they're just so huge. Now this motherboard is the X79 Turbo V1.3, which is, it's a Chinese X79 board, which basically like companies find old X79 chipsets, you know, buy up old stock and stuff, and solder those chipsets onto boards with modern features. So you've got like a PCIe NVMe slot on a 10-year-old chipset, which is just cool. Now, this board is decent in terms of I/O, gigabit LAN, 6 USB 2, 2 USB 3, 7.1 audio that I won't be using because I've got a Sound Blaster, and PS2 keyboard and mouse. So, of course, this is a pretty nice board. It's super beefy VRM, which is going to be needed to drive this 135 watt CPU. Big heatsink on it. That's your chipset under there. 4-channel DDR3. Of course, you've got 3 16X slots and just a lot of nice features like a postcode display down here. So I don't even have to use my post-test card. It just does it itself. Now it's time for our RAM. We've got 4 sticks of 4 gigabyte Hynix memory. Now this is like workstation server style memory. It's actually got IBM branding on it. So this was supposedly used in some sort of, you know, high-end IBM something. They're the like half-height RAM or whatever, but they still have a nice heatsink on them, which I didn't want super tall ones to interfere with the CPU cooler because it is rather large. I'm going to install as much in the board as possible before I put it in the case. And then I think once it's in the case, I'm going to clip the cooler onto it. Because I think screw access will be... Well, I could try it out now. See, I can reach... Alright, I take that back. I'm going to pop the cooler on now. I'm going to put on my thermal paste, a Thermal Grizzly Cryonaut, which is like the best you can get. But look, you don't get to see how much I put on. Haha. How does that feel? Yeah, internet users. That was the whole tube just for the CPU.
I've never done the like spread it around before you put it on thing. Oh wow, that's really slippery paste. Alright, it's securely on there.
I could test it before I put it in the board, but nah, I won't. Because I'm just good like that, you know? Where does this plug in? CPU fan 1. Right here, in fact. I'll do something clever with that. Now, I think this is literally the same Antec fan that I just put on the case, but just with pretty lights, because yeah, it has an RGB rig, which, okay, like lights in computers look good if they're really subtle, in my opinion. Like, I don't want super freaking bright RGB LEDs blinding me, but like a little bit is fine. Here, I just wanna compare really quickly. Yeah, that's it has more fins, but it's basically the same fan. More little blades. All right. And once we get this plugged in, we're gonna do first boot, test it out. Well, actually, no, I'll need a GPU. Okay, so there's kind of something I forgot about called motherboard standoffs. So they've got holes labeled M, A, and both, which is fantastic for, you know, indicating that it's ATX, MATX, whatever. Now I think they make like slim fans, so I might be able to stick another fan in, but those drives do block like half the airflow it would get anyway, so I probably wouldn't see a massive benefit. I should run these not behind the motherboard. I'll just stick them up there for now. Literally anywhere but there, please. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna use a, okay, those are just gonna go there, I guess. I'm gonna use a screwdriver bit to screw in the standoffs because they're giving me a lot of resistance. And I've got a screwdriver bit that fits over that head side. Yeah, I don't know if these holes were like drilled yet because that's way more resistance than a standoff should have, not gonna lie. These are my least favorite parts of building a computer. It's the stuff like screwing in standoffs. That's just like, I don't like it. Like, of course, it's literally one of the requisite parts, but I just don't like it. This is my first build with an I/O shield. Oh, that was really hard, then it was really easy. Okay. Oh. And then in goes the boy. Oh, wow, that cooler clearance, though. Really quickly, I just want to make absolute sure that it will close before I, like, continue. Okay, good, it does close, barely. Because that is a tall boy. Or it could be the case or the board. There's a screw labeled just M for MATX right here, and then one labeled A there, just for ATX. That this board actually doesn't have. So I don't know what's up there, but, you know, whatever. I didn't screw it in because it was labeled M, so, you know, whatever. Yeah, what? There are 2 holes labeled M for just MATX that this board, has to have. Don't know if that's a labeling thing with the case or with the board, but whatever. I've only got to do this once, so it's not a huge complaint. Just makes this once a little bit harder. Whoever invented magnetized screwdrivers is just like so great. Like they deserve their name and their portrait just like framed on my wall. My wall of fame of cool people who did cool things with PCs. PC stands for... Crap, I dropped the screw. That's what C stands for. Okay. There we go.
Good reminder to not work on computers while they are on.
It's not like 100% done, but that's like the major component.
Power supply and motherboard and, you know, CPU, RAM, all the things it needs to turn on.
So theoretically it should work. It's got power and reset buttons on the board allegedly, so I don't have the front panel stuff hooked up. I'll do that eventually. But this is, of course, a quick test, just to make sure that it won't, like, explode. And yes, we are using this monitor because, yeah. Because why not? Can do analog video natively without using an adapter, which means we can actually get a signal out of this new PC on this VGA monitor. I'm going to temporarily screw it in with that. That is a huge... Talk about cable sag, wow. Good sounds. Ooh, our cooler has lit up. The monitor turned on. That's a good sign. It's still going to take some time for the tube to warm up. And it looks like it's on, but we're getting either black screen or unsupported video out. It's on code 02 and it just shut off. We're getting a lot of rapidly changing post codes. I hope that's a good sound. I'm scared. Why does it keep just turning off? It keeps just randomly restarting. I'll move it down so you can see the codes. Oh, so it was a RAM issue. I'll have to figure out which stick is dead because it booted fine this time. So yeah, the board works fine. It's just a RAM issue, so gotta figure out which one of those doesn't work. Or if it just doesn't like running 4 sticks. So it's, Windows isn't gonna like this. Again, I'm gonna do a fresh install on a new drive, but I'm so glad that the PC wasn't the problem. I mean, it seems to be working. It's just not agreeing with the chipset drivers. I'm going to put in the comprehensive system benchmark disk, aka the game I didn't name because it's that good. It's just too good. Like if I'd named it, people would have just died because it was so good. Okay, there we go. Now it's getting devices ready. That's what we want. Alright, I'm going to switch over to the CrapCam 3000 because this camera is overheating and about to die. Okay, so a huge major setback. I took all the drives out and, put them back in the HP workstation, put it all back together because I need a computer while I'm waiting for a replacement CPU to come in. I'm pretty sure it's broken, the CPU, because these random, shut-offs and stuff, when I took the CPU out of the riser card in the HP workstation, I thought that the riser card was broken and the CPU was fine. because it would do this like random crash thing, a lot like it's doing right now. I'm just noticing that my I/O shield by the PS2 ports isn't correct, but it would do this random crash thing, and I thought the CPU was fine, the card was just broken. But because the CPU is doing the same thing in both systems, either like not booting at all or just like really unreliable, I think it's safe to say that the CPU is in fact the issue. So I'm gonna try and buy another of these Xeons. They're only about $25, which 25 for 8 core 16 thread seems like a fantastic deal, so I'll take that any day. But yeah, this will probably be set back quite a bit. Alright, I got my new CPU today. I'm gonna try and install it. I really hope the CPU was the problem. If the CPU was not like what went wrong, then I don't know what to do. I almost dropped it in the socket, it's so slippery. I think that is the correct way. Well, it was not the CPU somehow. My best guess is that the board is dead or something, because there's absolutely no reason that this should be happening. So it says it works, but it'll either shut itself off in like 10 seconds, or it'll freeze when I try to enter the BIOS. Alright, I'm in the BIOS and it seems to be working. But let's just hit the reset switch. Yeah, and it just randomly turns off. Yeah, that should not be happening. I've tried unplugging absolutely everything, but using different GPUs. Of course, I've used the 2 CPUs. I've used a different power supply, but nothing fixes it. Look, now it's only taking 2 seconds to shut off instead of like 5. Well, I put in one of the sticks of RAM from my NAS, a 2 gig DDR3, and it works. It completely works. I've never seen that many cores on Ubuntu. I've only seen 4. But I stuck in an old drive and it seems to work fine, so I may have fixed it. So I guess all 4 of these RAM sticks it doesn't like. And yes, it does appear the RAM was our only issue. I am now installing Windows 10 on the system. I'm not installing Windows 11 because I just really don't like it. They just made everything completely worse. But yeah, I'm installing Windows 10. It seems to be working fine. And I've got it installed to the NVMe, which I have really let's see, you can't see that. I think you can see now. It's held in by like entirely electrical tape because the board doesn't have screw holes that are that short. Alright everyone, so a couple final updates on this PC. So first of all, it won't be replacing my main PC. I've made that decision because I've been having lots of strange issues with it. It's mainly with the power management, so it doesn't fully shut down when I press the power button. And I was like, oh, that's not great, so I looked into it a bit further. And it turns out this isn't actually an X79 chipset. It's a completely different chipset. So the name of the board does not correspond to the chipset that you actually get. Again, did some more research, and it turns out that these boards actually aren't super great. So I did install the little hard drive caddy in my workstation, and I've been quite enjoying it there. But yeah, this is going to be my computer, like, for the next several years probably. Although the plural brain-celled among you may have noticed it's running, so it's got to work somehow. Yes, The problem turned out to be the RAM. It didn't like the ECC RAM, despite it saying that it supported it. So, yeah, I kept failing on memory things. I bought a new CPU to test, and it didn't work. And then I just stuck in a 2 gig stick from my NAS of unbuffered stuff, and it worked fine. So, yeah, the RAM was the issue. I've got a little 1 TB hard drive down in there, and a mystery GPU that I won't tell you about because I'm actually benchmarking it right now. So that's what this PC is going to be for. I'm going to do benchmarks on it, and it might also be my new render farm. For when I don't want to leave my main PC on overnight, I can just send it over a network to this, and it'll do the rendering. But yeah, I wouldn't say the build was a failure, but it definitely wasn't quite the success I thought it would be. It took an interesting turn, but honestly, I'm glad I just got it working because this will be quite useful. I'll benchmark, well, this mystery GPU that you'll find out about in like a couple months, once I finish editing that video. And I'm probably going to redo the HD 5870 benchmarks because there was a lot of CPU bottlenecking going on there and the GPU couldn't really, shine to its full potential. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing with this PC. Just wanted to give a heads up. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Thank you everyone for watching. See you next time.